As always, it is my pleasure that you join me for today's podcast of Second Chance Coaching. My name is Dr. Richard Lewis. If you'd be so kind as to leave me a rating and your feedback, I would very much appreciate it, and it will help others like you to optimally discover this podcast wherever you listen to this and your other favorite podcast. As you know, at Second Chance Coaching, we focus on seeing everyday life through the eyes of the returning citizen and highlighting the resiliency of the human spirit. I would love to work with you one-on-one, whether you're a returning citizen or coaching client seeking your second chance, or you're a representative of a business, college, or university seeking to integrate and support returning citizens in your respective organizational and learning environments. Please feel free to contact me via email at richard@secondchancecoaching.com or via Instagram at @the_Dr.RichardLewis. Welcome again to another edition of Second Chance Coaching. As always, it is my pleasure to join you on another week of your reentry journey from whichever corner of the world you're listening from. We always remain humbled and excited that you decided to spend a part of your week with us. I'd like to start off and thank our Second Chance family for the continued love and support of listening to our podcast. This past week, our top 3 listening states in the United States of America were North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida. So definitely thank you guys for showing the love and showing your support. Overseas, we received love from Switzerland, Japan, Canada, and the Ukraine. So definitely want to show love and say thank you for the love that you're showing to us here at Second Chance Coaching. We continually thank you, as always, for the love that you've shown and the support you've shown for the podcast. This past week has really primarily been about condo business, the condo business here. It's not so much drama, but the business of what we have to do with the condo, which of course might come with some drama as well. Our condo is going to have to complete a major concrete restoration project, as well as possibly get a new roof. In order to do such a project that's going to cost this much money, our condo documents require that we hold a meeting of the membership in which we must vote, there must be a majority vote from quorum to take place to borrow the money. You know, I think we had the meeting this past Monday, but I certainly said to the board it's probably going to be best to also have a meeting last Thursday to have a basic information meeting. So we had an open informational question and answer meeting last Thursday to discuss the project. And like I said, this past Monday was the meeting for the vote on the loan and subsequently voting on the terms of the assessment that we'd have to implement onto the community. Needless to say, these conversations were consequential and there was a lot to be said, but I'll tell you about them momentarily. I'll tell you about the results momentarily, but I was going through the course of the week and I was reminded, because of this and other things, how powerful persuasion and or persuasive speeches are. So working with reentry clients, I consistently teach techniques of persuasive speaking to help them, gain employment, secure housing, and really to overall accomplish the goals that they have set forth for themselves on the reentry journey. And, speaking through a criminal justice history, limited education, work experience, whatever that may be, the skills that one learns in persuasive speaking are invaluable. So I not only teach to reentry students, but I also teach it to my regular college students as well as part of the speech curriculum. So the persuasive speaking lessons I teach, in school, like I said, are identical to what is used in everyday communication by reentry clients or even what I would have to do on the condo. But going back to the condo, on our Thursday meeting, one of the techniques that I utilize is that the persuasive speaking can't only come from us. I also had our contracted engineer and our general contractor who'd be working on our property speak to our building. This was essential because there were operational and structural issues and procedures that I could not answer and my fellow board members couldn't answer. But this was crucial because they were there as subject matter experts to answer a lot of those tough questions. Because especially when we're talking about such a sizable assessment, that we were looking to undertake, you needed to have people feel secure that the investment that they're making is well worth the while. I mean, we're looking to undertake a $1.8 million loan. So that's really a $1.8 million assessment that's going to be assessed to the entire community. And that's an average of $24,000 to $30,000 per apartment unit. We've made the assessment as favorable as we can make it to make it something that, you can either pay one lump sum, depending on the size of your apartment by March 1st, or it could be a situation that you pay a monthly payment for it for 10 years, for 120 months. So this past Monday, we actually had to vote on our loan. And even before the Monday meeting, we still had more emails to speak of. During the meeting, we spoke of more numbers regarding interest payments, and things of that nature, really getting into the minutia of what was going on. Like I said, $1.8 million is not a small amount of money. So people are going to want to make sure that they are dotting all T's and dotting all I's and crossing all T's. So really, in speaking with you today, and telling the results of what we did with the condo, and really what we do with reentry clients, and what I really teach in school, I wanted to have today's podcast be a way to just really present a lesson in persuasive speaking and how we do persuasive speaking. Whether it be with students, reentry clients, definitely with condo boards, whatever the case may be. And so persuasive speech is one of the main things that we teach in public speaking and speech communication. And it's such an essential part of what we do every single day. So let me take you from my notes and just define what a persuasive speech is. So a persuasive speech is really the type of speech where the goal is to convince the audience to accept your point of view as a speaker, or to perform a desired action, or to reinforce a belief that they already believe in with you. So, of course, as a speaker, we use words and visuals and research to guide the thoughts of the audience and to guide their actions. And as in persuasive speeches, we rely on three types of rhetoric. And and many of you may have heard about this if you was in school, or have heard about it in layman's terms. We rely on ethos, pathos, and logos. And ethos is really the speaker's credibility. How much do they know about the topic in which they're talking about? Now, I might know about, as a condo board member, I may know about what we have to do, but as far as why we have to have this structural integrity, and why these things have to be done and how they're going to get done, that's why I get the contractor and engineer to speak. That's why I have the accountant speak on Monday, because I let the subject matter people talk about the things that they are expertise in, that things that I cannot answer. Pathos. Pathos is the speaker's ability to appeal to the audience's emotions. The speaker uses feelings like compassion, or sometimes even fear, to connect with and persuade their listeners. I certainly did not, at least I don't think I didn't think I used fear a whole lot when I spoke to the condo, but I really talked about that the investment we make, we're investing in ourselves, we're investing in our community, because this is where we live. And if we don't have anywhere to live, living somewhere else will be a whole lot more expensive. I did say that the fear I used into play was that if we didn't do this condo, eventually our condominium is going to be condemned. And if we're looking to get a buyout from it, we may only get 10 cents on the dollar of the value of our property. And I think that people heard that and felt that. The other form of rhetoric we use is logos. And logos is the ability for the speaker to use logic and reasoning to convince the audience. This is where they use research and supporting evidence to make the argument and to prove to the audience why what you're saying is true. I definitely utilized, despite the size of the assessment, I indicated what the size of rent and mortgages are outside of South Florida if leaving and moving out was going to be an option for folks, and look to show how expensive it is here in South Florida in comparison to just staying and investing in where you live. There's a lot of things as speakers that we could utilize, like nonverbal cues, the way we walk, our confidence, our tone, to really give solid voice to our persuasive speech. Now, what I tell my students all the time is that the speech is always composed of two things: the outline, which is really your blueprint of your speech, and then the speech itself. We won't get too much into the outline. But what I basically tell students is that if you're going to write out a persuasive speech, you'll definitely want to sit there and have your research points ready, where you got the research points from, and really write it out in an outline form, not word for word, because when you articulate your persuasive speech, you want to articulate it in a way that sounds like you're having a natural conversation and you have the confidence to master what it is that you're speaking about. So an outline is pretty important, and practicing off that outline will then help you practice that speech or that presentation in regards to what it is that you have to say in order to sit there and convince people where you're coming from. But when you're crafting a persuasive speech, let's put it this way. I want to really consider 10 things that people must do. This is what I teach my students all the time. These are the 10 things that you want to consider when you're trying to craft a persuasive speech in order to be effective. Number one, become an expert and anticipate counter arguments. There's no shortcut around it. You got to research the topic you're speaking about to know that you know as much as you can. And then also find out about the counter arguments to your research, because then you're able to not only strengthen your arguments, but you're also prepared for the likely counter arguments that you're going to have. So it's best that you read a lot of articles, do research from different points of view, so that you really become an expert as to how to attack and how to counterattack the arguments that you're going to present and the arguments that you have to defend yourself against. Second, set and state a goal. When you're preparing your speech, identify the goal that you're trying to achieve. There's really two purposes I tell my students that they're trying to achieve. You're trying to achieve a general purpose, and you're trying to achieve a specific purpose. So your audience knows what it is that you're coming from. My general purpose is always to persuade. I'm always looking to persuade. But my specific purpose in this case would be to make sure that the condo body approves the $1.8 million loan so we could sit there and do what it is that we have to do. Number three, to the extent that you can, learn about your audience. Learn about who you're going to be speaking to. Understand their opinions and understand the right steps that you could take to influence them. Don't use a lot of jargon or complex terminology in order to try to win them over. I've gotten the ability to get to know my neighbors and really know how they feel and how they see things and how they look at things from an affordability standpoint, but certainly want to look at things from a surety standpoint, not wanting to move. So in researching and knowing the audience, then it gives you an idea as to how to approach it. When do I approach with kid gloves? When do I approach and we have a come to Jesus conversation, because some people were getting a little rambunctious and disrespectful. So when you start to know your audience as a whole, it does tailor how you approach them, because you will be, as my mom used to say, I will be speaking your language. And number four, that goes into what I was just about to say. Number four is choose an approach. How do you want to sit there and approach your audience? Do you want to use more ethos, more logos, or more pathos, or a mixture of both, or a mixture of all three? It really depends on your audience. Some audiences will respond to research, some more respond more to emotion. So you have to really see what it is that's going on. So maybe the combination of all three is going to be the strongest argument. Like I said earlier, number five, create an outline. Organize your speech's main points into 1, 2, and 3, and subpoints like A, B, and C, so that you can make your effective case in a short amount of time. If you speak on and on and on and never have a stop to what you're talking about, then people will tune you out. Your persuasive speech not only has to be persuasive in its substance, but effective in its brevity, that you don't have to sit there and talk on and on and on. So you want to keep it short. Number 6, you want to write a strong introduction. What is it that you want to talk about? Set a strong tone to the speech. And it's that opportunity to make that first impression. When I spoke to the audience on Monday night and on Thursday night, I said, we are here for the salvation and the sustainability of our community. that really got their attention and said, whatever it is, we all here, we care about this community. We may see things differently, but ultimately we all care about this community. And that was an emotional response to try to get them to say, okay, we are on the same side. We're not all on different sides. And that goes into number 7, appeal to unity. Talk about the things that we have in common. It's too expensive to live in South Florida, so we got to make it best for what it is that we have now. Let's talk about what other buildings have done, why that's not working for us, what our insurance company has done, and make sure that we're put in a situation that as board members, we're not coming down on you. We're not the others. We are subjected to the same things that you're subjected to. And let it be known that even when you're using language, instead of using language like you got to do this, you got to do that, I use language like we are in this position. We have to do this. We have to do that, to let them know I'm in this with you all the way. Number 8, provide evidence. Give evidence to your audience as to why it is that you have to do what it is that you have to do, or what it is that you're trying to persuade them on. So if you say, I always tell my students, you have to verbally cite during the speech. And when they say verbally cite, what does that mean? I said verbally cite could go something like this. According to the Texas Law Review in 2015, we found that out of 5,000 returning citizen employees, not one of them ever had a disciplinary issue when it came to working at Johns Hopkins Hospital, nor were they dismissed or did they leave because of circumstances regarding their criminal justice background. That's how you sit there and provide the evidence to the audience. And usually when you have an outline, that's why you have your references listed there. So let your audience sit there and figure out if they want to sit there and say, okay, let me find out this information for myself. Number 9, end with a call to action. At the beginning of the speech on Thursday night, at the end of the speech on Thursday night, the beginning of the speech on Monday, and right before we called the question to vote, my call to action was always fill out your proxies and say yes. Say yes to us doing this concrete restoration. Say yes to us doing this work. And number 10, last but not least, the thing that I say to my students all the time besides the research is practice your speech. After you've written your persuasive speech, practicing it can help you become more familiar with the content of the speech, and it could identify whether it needs more changes, identify where your strong points are, where your weak points are. Practice in front of a mirror. Look on a smartphone, record yourself, look at your gestures. Make sure that you are being confident, that you're not looking too far around, that you're not saying making sure that the delivery of all the wonderful information that you're going to give comes as smooth and uninterrupted as the preparation you put into the speech. So you want to certainly do that and do those 10 tips. As it pertains to us, we still had a lot of questions on Thursday. It was good that some people had their proxies, and I guess they had voted against the loan. But I think after hearing us on Thursday night, a lot of people asked for new proxies so they could change their vote and to vote yes. And we got some of that as well on Monday night. And ultimately, we have 65 units here in the building, and I think only 42 units participated. But that's still a lot. That's more than majority, and it's a quorum. And the good thing is, of the 42, we only had five people say no. So 37 voted yes to have the loan. So now we're in the process of going to go close on the loan, be able to work on our concrete restoration, and be able to work on a new roof and really sustain the community and sustain this wonderful building that we live in. Even though there are some people who didn't want to sit there and do it, I think the reality of wanting to make sure that we are protecting our place to live is so very important. It's so very important to all of us. And the key to whether you're going into reentry, talking about a condo assessment, whether you're going for a raise, negotiating a salary, we participate in persuasive speaking all the time. We just have to be, in some cases, we have the time to be prepared for that. And other times we have to be ready to persuade and ready to have facts and know the situation at hand when we have to speak off the cuff or we have to speak impromptu in that regard. I think that you guys will do well when it comes to this lesson in persuasive speaking. I think you'll do great. Certainly, if you need anything, definitely reach out to me. have any questions, reach out to me. Let's certainly talk. Let's collaborate. I've gotten some emails, some second chance emails of people who want to be on the show. So I want to sit there and vet them and make sure that they're okay. They have something to offer the audience, our audience and our family, as far as what it is that they need to do as part of their reentry journey. So I'm looking forward to doing that as well. I want to, as always, thank you for always spending your time with me, spending a part of your new week with me. There's always the most favorite part of the week. I thank you for continuing to spread Second Chance Coaching to your friends, family, and loved ones. I appreciate you so much for joining us today, and I look forward to spending time with you again next week. Thank you again for joining us here at Second Chance Coaching. In addition to coaching services for individuals and businesses, I'm also available for speaking engagements and workshops on criminal justice reentry, human resources, as well as organizational culture and leadership. Feel free to email me at richard@secondchancecoaching.com, as well as connect with me on Instagram at @DrRichardLewis. Remember, every day you are given this opportunity for your second chance, and I know you'll make the best of it. I love you all, and I look forward to connecting with you next time here at Second Chance Coaching.